There will be spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers, so be careful, won't you?
Good morning. We interrupt our regularly scheduled broadcast of Max Mike Movies to bring you this breaking story. Giant ants from space snuff the human race. We are reliably informed that following this, they then eat your face, and witnesses confirm they never leave a trace.
Ooh.
We have additional reports. They can't be stopped at all. The buildings start to fall. Soldiers shoot all day, and then they run away. La 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 la, la 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 la. Our thanks to our roving reporter, Blondie, for this story, and what could be more appropriate for our series, Oh No, a Giant Monster! Especially when we're discussing the 1954 science fiction classic, Them! You have to say it that way, because as Mike reminds me, there is an exclamation point.
There is.
Which we are.
And they pay extra for that.
They did. I'm your host, Max Levine, and over there is your host, Mike Loose. Give us your best giant ant impression, Mike. Ah, ants! Ooh, that was uncanny. Before we get back to talking like ants, we have our
poll question.
Last week, we asked you what movie best represents your childhood.
Oh.
Mike, of course, it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But Tyler Stewart said Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Factor?
I assume he meant factory.
Oh.
Yes.
Oops.
I don't know. This might be a different kind of movie. But yeah, Willy Wonka, sure. And not, let us make this clear, not Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the one with Johnny Depp, the real one with Gene Wilder.
Yeah, real one.
Yeah.
Real one.
Professor Dr. Rebecca Pelkey says, tough choice. Watership Down? Ah. Yikes! Really?
Well,
maybe Legend? Or probably Clash of the Titans. Rebecca, are you okay?
I'm betting she's thinking more not represents her childhood, but was a favorite of her
most
childhood.
Memorable or
yeah, because I don't, to the best of my knowledge, as much as she is a learned, erudite person, I don't think she's ever been attacked by Greek gods or krakens.
Or been in mortal combat with rabbits.
Release the kraken. So
cover your crack up.
Yeah, there's so many films I wish people had done that with. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Dave.
Have you considered Dave? Won't you let Dave into your life today?
Says, I'm from the 60s, a time traveler.
No.
Oh, and I would have been 5 years old when the Beatles' Yellow Submarine movie came out.
Oh.
Not sure how old I was when I first saw it, but I still know every word, and I miss the colors, the bell-bottom fashions, the high men's shoes, and even the super elastic bubble plastic of the late 60s and early 70s.
Oh, dear.
Super elastic bubble plastic.
That wasn't toxic. Don't breathe it in, kids.
No. Oh, I remember really enjoying playing with that. I don't think I ever actually blew any bubbles. I just sat there with the tube. And
do you actually remember?
Real crazy.
Because I'm not sure you remember.
I remember being found lying next to an empty tube.
Super elastic bubble plastic. It smooths out the wrinkles in your brain.
The Yellow Submarine. I grew to love that movie, but when I first saw it when I was a kid, it scared the crap out of me.
Did you, in fact, literally point to the screen, scream blue meanies, and run out of the theater?
I should have, but I did not. Brian Mundo says...
Wait.
Oh, here.
Let me take a wild guess.
Try to take a guess. Take a stab in the dark.
Fifth Element?
Yep. The chaos, the flamboyance, the chance that the world is going to be destroyed by a giant evil entity.
Yeah.
Childhood.
Yeah.
Wow.
Remember the day that the taxis flew? Yeah, that was a good day.
That was a good day. Yep. And of course, in the frozen tundra, where childhood is but a dream that the weak Southerners have.
What?
Vince tells us Now to make Max take 2 more steps backwards toward the exit when he sees me. In 1985, I saw the film Welcome to the Dollhouse.
Oh, I don't know that
with
one.
my good friend, with my good friend Sterling by Todd Solondz. After the film, we didn't say a word until we were out of the theater, and she said, well, that film doesn't exactly parallel our lives. I think it completely explains why we are how we are now. Oh, good Lord.
Dollhouse was a kid's film, right?
Vince, as I said in your comment, I am going to mail you a nice weighted blanket and some hot chocolate.
2 things they don't have in Canada.
No, they don't. Everything's maple flavored.
Yeah.
Over from Blue Sky.
Blue Ski? What? Wait, what?
Yep. We have here from that fine Irish lad, Bealo Lading, a.k.a. Adam.
Yeah.
Here's one from left field. Sesame Street presents Follow That Bird. Really?
Oh, I vaguely remember that.
I never saw it. I remember the ads. Sesame Street's first feature film. Big Bird, with the puppeteer Carol Spinney, loves spending his days on Sesame Street with all of his different friends. However, social worker Miss Finch, Sally Kellerman, feels that Big Bird should live in an environment with only birds like himself, your own kind. Wait, wasn't that a song in West Side Story?
Wait a minute. This is starting to sound like a white supremacy film.
It kind of does. It's really also sounding like the way they're trying to run social services now. When she sends him to live with a family of dodos in Ocean View, Illinois. Oh, I like the joke in that name. Illinois is landlocked.
Well, except for the lake.
Big Bird cannot help but think of his friends back home. Deciding Sesame Street is the place for him, Big Bird begins an adventurous journey across America back to where he truly belongs, while the denizens of Sesame Street also try to find him on the road trip to end all road trips. I watched this endlessly as a child, that poor VHS tape. For our younger listeners, go look up VHS tape. It's a wonderful exploration of the yearning to belong and the search for home. As a gay man, I must also note that Sesame Street provides a wonderful example of found families. The villain is particularly sinister because she is neither stupid nor cartoonish. She just believes Big Bird should not be on Sesame Street and works methodically and unceasingly to achieve that, and does not view her intentions as malevolent. Yeah, worst kind of villain. The songs are amazing. Easygoing day, ain't no road too long, one little star, to be back home again, and all together now. I wonder if that was the Beatles song.
Don't know.
I also enjoy it as an adult, the purest form of Sesame Street where children are respected and the adults can actually act. Wow. And before the awful second generation of Muppets, Elmo, Zoe, etc., took over. Oh. Elmo knows where you live! A wonderful time capsule of the mid-1980s. It's one of my favorite films of childhood and informs a lot of the themes of my own adult life. Can you help tell me how to get home to Sesame Street? I'm 42 and I'm still looking. Adam, if I ever figure it out, I'll let you know once I'm there.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Man, yep. I didn't know it from having seen it. I think my niece watched it. And a very, very vague memory. I wonder if the character that Sally Kellerman played was named Karen. But man, that's pretty heavy for Sesame Street. I mean,
really? Yeah, that's a disturbing image. I mean, I know they always make a Big Bird out as that he's a child, but...
Well, and here's the thing. Big Bird later on, because I used to have to watch this when my niece was growing up, Big Bird got kind of whiny.
Really?
I didn't care. He got would complain a lot about things. I didn't like later. This is, of course, well after Elmo and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't care for post-ironic Big Bird or whatever you want to call it.
To me, the most heartbreaking thing I think I'd ever seen on television was when they're trying to explain to Big Bird that Mr. Hooper has died.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh,
well, you and I are first-gen Sesame Street kids. Yeah. I remember the ads for it while watching Mr. Rogers. There's this new show coming in 1969. Yep. And I bought the first albums. There was a Sesame Street album. There was Susan Sings songs from Sesame Street. I mean, you and I are perfect evidence of Well, that.
Oh,
So, do we have any
oh
more
dear.
answers to the poll question?
Yeah. There's one other. Of course, yes, my little buttercup Doris Hempelmeyer
Oh dear,
has left us a message. Have a listen.
Hello, Max Mike Movies. Hi, Max. This is Doris Hempelmeyer here to answer your poll question this week, which I believe was, what movie represents your childhood? Well, I can't really think of one that represents my childhood, so to speak. I mean, there's no movie out there I go, oh yeah, that's what it was. But there is one character in a movie that reminds me of me, and that was Katharine Hepburn playing Jo March in A Little Woman. No, Little Women. There was lots of Little Women in there. I didn't have a lot of Little Women in my life because I was only a single girl in my family. But yeah, she was a writer and she did all that stuff, and that's what I do, and it reminds me of me. A movie that I look at and just brings me right back to my childhood, however, is going to be Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I saw that a bunch of times in the movie theater, like every Saturday for weeks, and so that's what I think of in Jujubes. That's my answer. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I look forward to hearing you next week. Bye.
Ah, Little Women. You're the only little woman I need, Doris. Well, Katharine Hepburn, that's the old classic. And of course, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. See our entire episode on Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah, it's so funny that Doris and I have something in common.
Yeah,
when
weird.
I was little, and I was little and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang came out, I kind of made my sister take me to the movies a number of weeks in a row to see that. So, isn't that strange?
What a coinky dink.
I'm giving it away.
But thank you, Doris, and thank you all. These were great.
They
Mike,
were. Thank you.
What about yours? What is your favorite? What movie defines your childhood or is your childhood?
There isn't one.
Yeah,
it was a weird
figured.
question to ask, but Super 8
And you asked it.
I did. Super 8 in a way isn't far. I mean, there was that, giant alien invasion that happened, in the early mid-70s, but we all remember that,
who could
right?
Forget that.
No, I mean, the idea of wanting to make movies and stuff sort of vaguely, but there's not really... I didn't have a group of friends like that. I had the neighborhood kids that we'd play and stuff, and we had fun, but I wasn't driven to do that kind of thing. So I don't know that there is a film that really exemplifies my childhood. There are childhood favorites. Willy Wonka is certainly up there. I really liked it. I saw it a number of times. Strangely, the film that I think I saw the most in the theater as a child is What's Up, Doc? And if you have not seen What's Up, Doc...
That explains a lot.
Yeah, well, it kind of does in a way. It is, in a way, my favorite film, mostly from nostalgia. I still think it's funny. I don't know that it would work in modern-day audiences. It does have Barbra Streisand in it. I like her in this film. This wouldn't last.
Yeah, well...
Yeah, so I can't really answer that question the way it was put. How about you? Is there any film out there that's like, oh yeah, that's me?
Well,
I mean, Stranger Things, to be fair, not a movie.
Yeah.
Stranger Things, in a lot of way, kind of comes close for us because of the D&D group and stuff, and
that's right, being
giant
menaced
monster
by otherworldly monsters. Yeah. But now, for me, I was thinking more in the terms of the movie that I watched a lot as a child, and that kind of meant a lot to me then. And that's easy. That was A Boy Named Charlie Brown. That was, I think, one of the first Peanuts feature films.
Feature films?
Yep, that's where he goes to a spelling bee.
Was this like a movie theater feature film, or was this a TV movie?
I saw it in the theater, I'm pretty sure.
Oh. Huh. It's like weird, because I didn't know that. It's when you find out, oh yeah, there was a theatrically released Flintstones film. It's like, wait, there was?
Yeah. Wasn't that A Man Called Flintstone?
Yeah. Probably nothing to do with A Boy Called Charlie Brown.
I'm pretty sure not, yeah. Yeah, no, I was a huge Peanuts fan ever since pretty much I was old enough to read.
Yeah.
And I loved Peanuts, and I felt real kinship with Charlie Brown.
Aw. Yeah.
Yep, so that was mine. So again,
cool.
Nice, good answers all around, and we're going to want more of them. I got to ask, inspired by especially this week's movie, what kind of movie monster can you just not take seriously? No matter how well it's done, you just go, oh, come on! You just
I'm going to go with most of them.
Yeah, well, but sometimes there's like one where you go, nope, I can't deal with, nope.
Night of the Lepus.
Yes. Yeah, you cannot make giant rabbits frightening. You just can't.
It's a rabbit.
Buddy.
I'm not a carrot. I'm not worried.
It's wiggling its nose at me in a terrifying manner. But we will tell you how to answer that question at the end of the show.
To be fair, rabbits, when they get into fights, can be vicious. Rabbit foo.
Yeah.
There's some amazingly cool photos of rabbit foo.
Yeah.
Like, why would they attack humans? Never mind Joan Crawford. Oh, no, that wasn't her.
Hey, ask Jimmy Carter.
Okay.
Yes, remember he was the killer rabbit coming after Jimmy Carter in a canoe.
No, I don't remember
I'm not
that.
making that up. He was out on a canoe. The people had so much fun with this. He was out on a canoe trip when he was president, and this rabbit jumps into the river and charged his boat.
Okay.
And was like trying to get in. And of course, he's a farm boy, so he's like, oh, what the hell? Look at that there. He's trying to get in there and eat me or some such. And
poke, drown, die.
But everyone else was like, save the president from the killer rabbits.
Oh, wow. I don't remember that at all.
Oh, yeah.
But answer our question. What movie monster you can't take seriously, and we'll tell you at the end, yada, yada, yada,
Yep.
yada.
But now...
Facts.
Budget. Surprisingly hard to find out. There's not a lot of details. I had to dig. Yeah, because the budget was cut almost in half during the filming.
Really?
By Warner Brothers, who, you see, they really... how to put this? They were really hoping this would be a big deal movie because the year before, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms had made a ton of money. Oh. That was on a budget of $200,000. So they doubled it for this. The initial budget was $400,000.
Huh.
I don't know how much they slashed it, but once you watch the movie, you can kind of see where and how.
Well,
but it took in over $2 million.
I kind of wondered. Okay, that's interesting to me.
Now, that was over time. The initial take wasn't that as high, but it made its money back immediately.
Wow.
Originally, the film was supposed to be filmed in color. When the studio cut the budget and said, we got to make it in black and white, you notice the opening title is bright red against a black and white background, and that is the last piece of color you see.
Well, I'm guessing what happened was they literally were painting the letters THEM, and the studio executive came in, grabbed the paintbrush out of the guy's hand, and that's not how it works.
Yeah, and despite all the trepidation and hesitation, it turned out to be one of the studio's biggest grossers of 1954. It was a very popular date movie at drive-in theaters. Wink.
Oh, I bet it was. Yeah, you could, yeah.
The actor who plays the old alcoholic, the most memorable character in the movie, I think, in the LA hospital ward, make me a sergeant, charge of the booze. That is a guy named Olin Howland. He also shows up as the first character to discover the meteorite in The Blob.
Uh-oh.
He was born in Colorado in 1886, and he had an amazing career. He went back to Broadway. He was in, between 1918 and 1958, he was in over 200 films, including a small role in Gone with the Wind. I couldn't tell you what, but he was in it. So this guy is kind of Hollywood's secret royalty.
Well, I gotta say, he is the most memorable character in the film,
is.
Besides the little girl. We'll get back to her.
Yep, we'll get to her. In 1998, Joan Weldon, who plays Dr. Patricia Medford, revealed the temperature reached 110 Fahrenheit during filming, and she and Edmund Gwen, who plays her father, were wearing wool clothing.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
Gwen struggled with advanced arthritis. It's unnoticeable to the audience, but he was in agony the whole time, and he had to be helped offset by his valet.
Oh.
Yeah. The flamethrowers used in the movie were standard World War II flamethrowers loaned by the U.S. Army. Real, honest-to-God flamethrowers. The actors handling the weapons were World War II combat veterans who had actually used them in battle.
Yeah, especially that one scene where the kids are obviously on the same set.
Oh, yeah. Child safety law, what's that? The viewer never sees more than 3 giant ants at any one time. That's all that were constructed before the budget was slashed. Walt Disney himself screened the movie because he was interested in casting James Arness as Davy Crockett. But he was so impressed by Fess Parker as the crazy Texan pilot that he chose him.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? The director, Gordon Douglas, recalled that during editing, quote, I asked the editor, how does it look? And he said, fine. I said, does it look honest? He said, as honest as 12-foot ants can look.
9-foot ants.
There is a Star Trek tie-in here, technically 2.
Oh, yes, there are.
There is an Army staff sergeant reading a news story off a teletype that is a very young Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah. No, I have to ask you this.
Yes?
Did you notice him?
I did not.
Or did you have to get that
I had
from
to look
trivia?
that up.
I did.
I didn't notice him
I was
at
like,
all.
is that Leonard Nimoy? Oh my God, he's like 12.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sure enough.
The subterranean chase scenes in He Walked by Night in 1948 convinced Warner Brothers to use the storm drain tunnels under Los Angeles, California for the climactic scenes in the film.
Why not?
The original idea was to have the giant ants invade New York City's subway system.
New York City?
Get a rope. That was scuttled partly due to budget constraints, but mainly because of the horrified reaction of New York City Transportation Secretary William J. Daley to the suggestion.
Oh. Daley, that's a good name for a mayor.
Yeah. I think it was James. No, Richard. That's Richard.
It may have been
Daley.
both of them.
Yep. The sound that the giant ants make as they approach their prey is a recorded chorus of bird-voiced tree frogs, which, or as Mike knows, Hyla avivoca of the southeastern U.S.
Who doesn't
Occasionally, a gray tree frog can be heard on the soundtrack as well. I'm sorry, that ruined the whole thing for me. So I'm sitting there going, that's a gray tree frog, damn it.
Ants, well known for their noise.
Yes, especially their whistling.
Yeah.
The distinctive whistling sounds were often reused in other films, including Mohawk in 1956 and The Black Scorpion in 1957.
Okay.
The film was originally supposed to have been shot in 3D. Some elements of the 3D effect, such as the ants having extreme close-ups and the flamethrowers shooting straight into the camera, were used.
Oh.
Although the second eye print was filmed, it was never struck and probably destroyed later.
Well.
One thing I did notice, in a couple of scenes, Sergeant Peterson is looking at, that, by the way, is James Whitmore, is looking at money scattered around a crime scene.
Oh, sure.
The money doesn't look like, it doesn't look anything like U.S. currency or really any currency known to man at the time. At the time this movie was made in the 50s, it was illegal to show real U.S. currency on screen.
It's true.
The U.S. Secret Service, which handles counterfeiting and money laundering, eventually updated the legal requirements for showing U.S. currency in motion pictures.
Oh, yeah, that would go, like, in through the 60s. I want to say maybe even the 70s we got, like, really bad-looking bills. But
Warner Brothers initially passed on this picture and expressed little interest until Paramount offered to pick it up.
Oh.
No, you can't. We don't want it, but you can't have it either.
Well, it's a pity it made them $2 million.
Yeah. This, by the way, is the film that set the trend or trope or cliche, if you will, of the often used scene of the chief scientist showing a documentary film outlining the scientific basis for the sci-fi menace.
Well,
Ants, so like us.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah. When the movie was first released in Sweden, it was named Spindlarna, which translates as the spiders?
But there's no spiders in this film.
I know. I don't get it either.
Okay. I guess they sweeted it.
Yep. And of course, Mike's all-time favorite sound effect, the Wilhelm scream, can be heard 4 times.
5. I did count them.
Okay. While James Arness starred in this movie, his brother, Peter Graves, later starred in one of its many imitators, Beginning of the End. No, this is totally different. It's giant grasshoppers, not giant ants.
And postcards. Oops.
Yes. There's a ton of other stuff, mostly for like who showed up in this. There's a lot of television royalty in this movie. But do you got anything else? I thought you had something about the director.
I do, but there's 3 more cameos that I'm like, oh. One of them is Richard Deacon, otherwise known as Mel Cooley.
Yes, Mel. He has one line, and he's listed in the credits as the bald reporter.
We have William Shallert, the other Star Trek connection, who is America's dad. William Shallert, that's the career I want. He has been in everything. He's never the leading man. He's usually a character actor. Always working, probably never bothered on the street. Perfect. And then this one I did not...
The station is swarming with Klingons.
No, it is you that I don't take seriously. So the other one I did not pick out. I saw this later on. Yeah. And it's something that I thought was going to end up being a little subplot, but didn't. At one point, I think it's early on in the film, they're walking into a police station, and there's these 2 obviously punk kids, and they're obviously up to no good. And I was totally thinking that, the punk kids saw something, that's why they're here, and nobody believes them. But we literally don't do anything than sort of pause on the punk kids and keep going. One of the punk kids was Dick York.
Oh, okay. I knew he was in the movie, but I didn't spot him.
Yeah. So, but the director, so Gordon Douglas was a very hardworking guy. He actually started as an actor and then as a director started with the Our Gang shorts. So he was working for Hal Roach way back. And yeah, and he was steadily working up until the late 70s. He's got tons of films under his belt. And we'll come back to the directing in this film, but his best-known films include They Call Me Mr. Tibbs.
Oh, wow.
In Like Flint. And the Evel Knievel movie Viva Knievel. Which is sadly his last film.
Which I saw in the theater.
I have to say, at some point, we might need to rewatch that, because it is known to be really terrible, but the plot itself, I just read the plot, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Seriously? Okay.
But it's really, the plot doesn't matter with Evel Knievel's bravura performance.
Yeah. But so Gordon Douglas, very hardworking, in-demand director through the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So, yeah. But other than that, Max... I know beneath all of the giant ant wackiness, there is a real serious, heartfelt, moral-driven story. Would you be so kind as
very complex. It's going to take a while.
Giant ants! We're done.
Yep. In the New Mexico desert, police officer Ben Peterson, a.k.a. James Whitmore, finds a shell-shocked little girl wandering aimlessly. Once he's determined that there's no Village of the Damned action going on, he soon discovers a number of dead bodies and a bunch of giant murderous ants. Pretty much a typical day in New Mexico. He then teams up with FBI agent Peter Graves' brother, Professor Santa Claus, and Dr. Lady Woman to brutally murder the poor misunderstood insects because there's a chance they're in this country illegally.
Oh,
God. But spaghetti-o, 2 young queen ants have escaped and everyone is worried that they'll start reading to children in libraries, not realizing the difference between ant queens and drag queens. With some help from baffled pilot Davy Crockett, and one of the best movie drunks of all time, they eventually track the ants to the massive storm sewer complex in Los Angeles and call in the army rather than the Orkin Man. The acts that follow are swift and bloody and will live in ant infamy. Yay, endoskeletal beings!
The film.
Wow.
That's it.
That's it. I mean, sure.
You gotta admit, I covered it.
Yeah, you covered it with something. I just don't know what it is. And I don't know if this knife will cut through it.
Don't step in it, whatever it is.
This is going to be a tough one for the cast because there's very few names in here. There's a lot of people in this, but...
there are a lot of television names.
Yeah, how do you want to handle this?
Well, let's go through them. James Whitmore as Sergeant Ben Peterson.
Sure.
Who is there. He has done everything from CSI to Planet of the Apes.
Well, and his character is the one to me that really makes literally no sense. Because he's a cop in New Mexico that gets to go along for the entire thing all the way through Los Angeles because what?
And wears an army uniform at one point for no apparent reason.
Well, so does James Arness, and he's an FBI guy, so, whatever. I honestly think it's so that they would blend in when they got the real guys to use the flamethrowers, because there's something you don't want to just hand to somebody. He's fine.
Yeah,
he's very earnest. Job. I mean, considering these poor actors were either they or their agents were handed a script, and they're going through. It's like, oh, there's some good lines here. Oh, I lose my partner. That's a good dramatic moment. Blah blah. I'm sorry. What? Giant ants. How much? Okay, fine. Like literally, at some point, they had to go. I'm going to give this my best, but there's giant ants. So,
I don't know what you're expecting. Yep, and Edmund Gwynn, or Gwen, probably to me best known as Santa Claus from Miracle on 34th Street.
I have a feeling I know him and I don't know him. He seems like one of those old man character actors that's in everything. I just never paid him much attention.
He shows up in a lot of stuff. He's in Hitchcock, The Trouble with Harry, The Apartment for Peggy. He was in a bunch of Alfred Hitchcock stuff, including the TV show, and a whole lot of TV.
Yeah, that's fine. He was fine.
Yeah. Yep. Joan Weldon.
Dr. Lady Person.
Dr. Lady Woman.
We're going to come back to that, as I said. She's fine. She doesn't have much to do.
She was a fixture in TV Westerns.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. But speaking of TV Westerns.
And fixtures. You got James Arness, who to me his greatest role will always be as the Thing from Another World.
He's like 6'8" or something. He's
11 feet tall. He's giant.
He's so tall. Here's the thing, though. While I didn't recognize him as first because I've never watched. He was Matt Dillon, right?
Yes, he was Matthew
in Gunsmoke.
Yep.
I never watched that show. Don't like Westerns. But every time he talked, I'm like, who? Oh, he's got to be James Arness. He sounds exactly like Peter Graves. Like they totally sound alike.
I'm James Arness.
He does. He sounds exactly like him. And he's tall.
Yes, he's very good at attaining height.
Yeah, he's fine. I mean, it's not a part with a lot of depth. Oh, wow, what a big surprise. He's going to end up like hawking on the Dr. Lady Woman. Wow, I'm so shocked.
Yep. Yeah, and there's a bunch of people, mainly either the actors have goofy names like Onslow Stevens.
Sure.
Or
Onslow
Sean
is a British
McClory.
Name.
Okay. and Sean McClory, who plays Major Kibby.
Yeah. Which is fine. But I got to say, the standout actor for this film is Sandy Desher. That kid has got a 1,000-yard stare that could beat most talent in Hollywood.
The only other thing I know her from is Space Children.
Right, yeah. Well, she did a few things. She was, a child actor for the 50s and 60s. But, and her part is hauntingly reminiscent of another film that would come out 30 some odd years later. But we can get to it now. I think I've never watched this film all the way through. We'll just say the actors in general, they're fine. They're all very earnest, which is important to sell the giant ants.
Ants, yes. But I do like both Fess Parker and Olin Howland.
Well, Owen Howland's the best thing in the film. I mean, let's face it. He's got
a lot of
30 seconds on screen, but he's the one thing I remembered from the bits and pieces I've seen before. Make me a sergeant in charge of the booze. Make me a sergeant. Give me the booze. He's instantly hilarious. Everyone's fine. Everyone is decent. They're doing their jobs. That's exactly what they need to do. But Sandy Desher as that little girl, she does this great thing. There's even a point where they're like waving their hand in front of her eyes. Her eyelids do not twitch at all.
Never blinks. Yeah.
And she gives the film its title. She actually screams out when they make make her smell formic acid. She backs into a corner and goes, "It's them! It's them!" So, which I'm sure was done for the trailer, but
Yep.
So as soon as I saw her doing her blank-eyed stare and holding her little plastic baby doll, I'm like, oh, I wonder if this is where aliens got a bunch of their ideas. Because there she is, she's Newt. And then later, she's not the one who gets taken away, but there are kids that are in the nest, and there's these giant bad creature things laying eggs and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I have this feeling that there was echoes of this film for aliens. This is not a bad thing. I just was amazed at how good she was at looking frightened and having been in shock. But yeah.
Yeah, no, she nails it.
If you haven't seen it, really good movie poster. Really exciting.
The poster is very impressive.
There's one thing you want about a movie-going experience. It's that
it's
the poster
a good poster. Yep.
Well, but of course, back then that actually was a huge deal because you wouldn't see ads for movies on TV. Movies and TV were enemies; they never crossed. That was bad.
Yeah.
So things like posters matter. I was very interested to find out what the budget was because, quite honestly, for this type of film, the production values are pretty high.
Most of it, except for the ants. But although some of them, yeah. But it's true. They've got a large number of extras. They're using actual Army surplus hardware. And they didn't have a lot of hack actors. I mean,
no.
We're not talking the Royal Shakespeare Company here, but these guys were all competent. Yeah. There was none of the, don't go in there, Bob. It's the most horrible thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
None of that.
I mean, even to be fair, we've watched a few of Roger Corman's films, and we noted that even Roger Corman on his worst days was often able to get some surprising performances out of people. People who would otherwise, shall we say, not have risen to the occasion and didn't many times. But it's also the fact there's a lot of aircraft in this film, and it's not stock footage.
No,
aircraft are expensive.
In aircraft. Very.
Yeah. And it's not even like, we have a plane. It's like, no, we've got this plane, we've got that plane, we've got these two helicopters, we've got that vehicle. Also, it's quite obvious that there's a lot of location shots. Okay, was it New Mexico? Probably not. Any desert looks the same.
They're part of it was, this because the opening shot is of a Joshua tree. And that's the only place they grow.
I thought they also grew in California.
I'm not sure. I could have sworn.
Because my feeling was it's probably the California desert. It's right there. There's a lot of it. But that's okay. They obviously filmed in the LA River, which admittedly probably didn't cost that much, but it looks good. And quite honestly, why wouldn't the ants go there? It's like, hey, here's all these neat tunnels. Admittedly, they're wet, which they probably don't care for.
They're very, very wet, yeah.
But the one that killed me was like, the other queen decided to build her nest on a battleship. Wait, what?
They do talk about how the mating flight is affected by wind. They could have been blown out over the ocean and gone, I need to land on something.
Well, how about, hey, it looks like there's a lot of water coming up. Maybe I should land earlier than that. I mean...
Well, mating flight, they're getting busy. They're not really paying attention.
Oh, she has two of them, too. 2 ants for every queen. So, I mean, let's get to this, too. It's a giant monster movie. It's the 50s.
Yep.
The science in this film. And, we can't do giant... You can't do giant ants. As it turns out, I can't remember what the law is for this, but...
Cube squared law.
Is that what it is? Where you can't... The bigger you go, you can't get rid of enough heat.
You get...
Well, that too, but you can't just disperse enough heat to make this a viable thing.
Well, there's also the problem...
Also heavily radioactive, but
Well, there's also the problem with insects that they have no endoskeleton, and an exoskeleton only supports so much weight. When they get too big, the exoskeleton just breaks. They can't support their own weight.
Well, and if it was thick enough, they couldn't move because it's too heavy.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just. And these
insects
ones were,
that big just don't work.
These were awfully fuzzy for ants, too.
I gotta say, I didn't know ants were that hairy.
Yeah. The other thing, too, and we're watching the little film, which I want to come back to the film. Well, we'll come back. Is they're showing us, ants have blah, blah, blah. And the ant stingers, I'm like, what? No, ants don't have stingers.
I thought some of them did. I thought like fire ants did.
No, they bite. It's all in the mandibles.
Oh.
There's no stinger. Especially on regular old black ants. They're showing us a film of them. There is no stinger. But whatever, I will say, for a giant critter that seems so keen on eating sugar, they leave an awful lot of it behind.
Yeah, also... I mean, I understand when they're attacking the train because there's 40 tons of sugar. Mm-hmm. But they're attacking this place because they have a bowl of about 12 sugar cubes. Apparently, they have incredibly He's sensitive, sugar sensing. By the way, I just checked. About 71% of the species of ants do have stingers. Only the females.
Well, there's the problem.
The fire ants are known for their that's what they use to inject their venom. That's why they hurt so much.
Well, I thought it was
and
the
they
bite.
do. Nope.
Never had
they
fire
have stingers.
ants. Well, still, it's the females, and the females are the ones those are the queens, and that's not the ones that are running around the army ants. So there. I'm vindicated. But yeah, what are they eating before they discovered sugar? They're in the desert.
Really, really big aphids?
Well, I don't know, because I guess ants do eat other insects.
Oh, they're carnivores. Or insectivores. They do.
Leafcutter ants, too, and those, I think, eat both.
Yeah.
They might be omnivores, but...
Yeah, but they're in the middle of the desert. There isn't exactly enough plant life to support them.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. It's like, okay, radiation is bad. We get it. And Alamogordo, wait, people are still living there? Okay. Oh, yeah, we used to watch the atomic red test. It was a lot of fun. It's right over there. What's with the third arm, Grandpa? So the science in this, they say it's bent. It's like saying that Harvey Firestein's bent. It's very...
Well, you got to remember, 1954, we really didn't know much about what radiation could do. People were saying for a while it was good for you, cleared out your sinuses. Nobody knew. We didn't know about mutation. We didn't know about accelerated cancer rates. Remember the Conqueror and John Wayne and what happened to everybody in that movie?
See our entire episode on the Conqueror. Don't watch the movie. Yeah, I guess it's just, I mean, we have to get to a point where there's a giant monster, and they often decide to try and justify it in ways that just always make me go, huh? Yeah. And as I said, in this film is one of those examples. The other thing, as you said, it's obvious where the budget runs out. I got to say, up till the point where we actually see the giant ants, I'm like, wow, this is pretty well shot. The black and white, the photography's good. The acting is decent. The sets are good. The locations
the score is decent.
And then the ant shows up, and I actually had to giggle. It was like, oh, okay, I'd seen them before.
Now, to be fair, they try, because you never see an entire ant. They try to show you a little bit. They try to keep them in shadows, or they try to have them like mixed up with each other, so you don't really get to look at how silly they look. But they try. But there's only so far they can go.
The only way this would work is current technology and CG, because you need to see the ants literally dragging people back underground.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
you do see them grab people, but...
do we see them grab people, or do we see people sort of trip into the mandibles and
then sort of hold stand there and then carefully close the mandibles around themselves? Yeah.
And of course, here's the thing. By this point... it's all hugging and smooching, so nobody really cares, right? In 1954. So
the audience isn't really watching the movie anymore.
No.
I gotta say, though, about the science, the plan they have for destroying the nest at first, which is scorching the top with phosphorus.
Yeah.
It's because the ants won't come out in that heat, and then using poison gas. As 1950s science fiction anti-monster plans go, that's not bad.
Well, they lucked out. All the ants were in one place.
That was they thought all the ants were in one place.
Right.
There are only two small problems. One, that's not how phosphorus works. It burns very hot very quickly.
Right.
You don't use it from like superheating sand. And also, I'm not sure cyanide gas is heavier than air. So it might have just floated back up. I'm honestly not sure.
Well, they would have they wouldn't have said it, but they probably would have been better off with mustard gas, because mustard gas definitely sinks.
It sinks.
That was one of the big problems, because they used it during trench warfare. Why do I know these things? I have not become the person who's suddenly interested in World War I or II. I am not that guy.
Yes, you have. That's what happens when you get our age.
But they did save Hitler's brain.
So, as I say, there are some flaws, but the overall plan, it isn't one of the really stupid ones, like, let's, fresh water will destroy them. let's throw...
We all beat on Shyamalan, but, glasses of water. Well, it worked for the Wicked Witch, so...
It still gets me, of course. This is 1954, so when Dr. Lady Woman wants to go down into the... with the menfolk into the ant's nest, like, you can't send you or any woman down there. And all I've got in my notes is, she might get estrogen all over everything.
Or bra prints or something. So here's, speaking of Dr. Lady Woman, and it's not her fault. It is not the actress. She's fine. She doesn't have that much to do. She's fine.
Not much.
But this film is not only a map for the plot of most 50s science fiction monster movies, it is the template for 50s monster movie bingo. We have the old scientist, the beautiful woman scientist,
who may or may not be related to the old scientist.
Correct. Good-looking, big-chinned hero, women pointing and screaming. They tampered in God's domain. The woman character being tough. Washington, D.C. All of these, and there's more. And if you want to add to them, I will make a bingo card.
Send in your suggestions for entries on squares of 50s science fiction bingo.
Yeah, we will totally
just
make
monster movie or 50 science fiction.
Oh, 50 science fiction, either. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because they're all, when it comes to the plots, they're all the same.
Yep.
And I was just sitting there watching, and I was like literally mentally checking things off as they showed up. And it's because I've seen a lot of these, and it's like, wow, I never really realized how similar they were, but how many plot elements they literally just shuffled from one film to another. So, yeah, it might make a very dangerous drinking game.
Yeah, you could end up with alcohol poisoning pretty easy.
Yeah. So, that sound the ants make, it's interesting to find out that they're a frog. I'm kind of not surprised, but there's another something that will make the same sound. It's not as common as it used to be, but a car whose fan belt is loose will make the same sound. And so walking around the 80s, 90s back in Boston, I remember hearing cars every once in a while do that. And they would turn the corner and be like, giant ants. But I have to say, as weird as it is, the sound is kind of haunting. And if you don't pair it with the visual, it actually is something that you will instantly remember. It is a very memorable sound. And I'll give them
it's
credit
genuinely
for that.
creepy and haunting. Yep.
Yeah. And I think
also, I have to say, it's very polite. It's very polite of the ants to announce their presence with that warbling. It's like, no, we don't sneak up on people.
Well, and I think that and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody out there, I think that all ant communication is scent and touch based. I believe
that's
noise.
Right. I don't think they make sounds.
So, yeah, and the stupid Wilhelm scream. I have to say, too, even when we get to the nest, there's a nest set, and it's obvious it's a set. You can tell when we're going from desert to, now we're in the studio. I thought it was actually pretty well made.
It was decent.
And the stuff they shoot in the LA River, going down those tunnels and driving, that's a very, to me, visually iconic scene. Seeing those Jeeps drive down into the sewer tunnels in the LA River is very iconic. And it's like, yeah, this makes sense. And let's face it, if you've ever seen the LA River, it is a big thing waiting for something bad to happen.
Yeah, you can see why they use it in so many movies.
Yeah, like T2 and other stuff.
Grease, everything.
Was it? I never saw Grease. Oh, they did. Yeah. They do it. Oh, it's also
that's
in
the car race.
Oh God, Big Stupid. What? No, it's not Big Stupid. It's the one with Oh, there's a drag race in that film when it's the one with Mel Torme.
Girls Town.
Right. There's a drag race in Girls Town on the LA River.
And Hilary Swank lands a space shuttle in it in the core.
Okay. It's one of those ideas that I think a lot of people don't think about, or they're not as aware of it, but it was literally LA going, hey, I got an idea. Let's pave that river. And they actually did it.
No, why? Well, there's no water in it like 8 months out of the year, so...
And, so it's just aching to be abused, and it has been since it was created. I don't know when it was made.
Oh, yeah. One of the other themes in the movie that I think is kind of interesting, and it's just not even... It's just an accepted thing. The way people just submit to the army and to the authority.
Ooh, yeah.
And the absolute control they have, and nobody questions it. Everyone is so cooperative and so calm about everything. Even when they're trying to keep it secret. There'll be a panic. God forbid we let people get out of the area where the giant ants are. There'll be a panic. They keep poor Alan Crotty, which is still a horrible
Oh, Fess
name,
Parker, yeah.
Fess Parker, the pilot. They keep him locked up in an asylum. They know he's sane because the reason they think he's crazy is he's reporting seeing giant ants.
Yeah.
They say, no, keep him locked up. Don't let him have any visitors. And the doctor's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, really? Okay. And everyone's like, okay, well, the army says you can't go. Everyone, there's martial law and, there's a curfew. And everyone's like, huh, okay. I'll just finish my delicious salad. I just noticed that at one point there are people in this restaurant. You look across the street and there's a sign for another restaurant. I don't remember what the other food was, but one of them was
tasty sandwiches.
Tasty sandwiches and delicious salads. Like, suddenly I'm hungry for a delicious salad.
Don't tempt me. Because if there's one thing that 50s Los Angelinos wanted, and that was a tasty salad.
That was a tasty
delicious
salad. Yep.
Sorry, a tasty sandwich and a delicious salad. Yeah, and when they make that announcement, and this is one of the hallmarks of 50s science fiction monster movies, is everyone in it is so earnest. And it's honestly half the fun of watching these is that people are so serious about what's going on. So they keep this under wraps. They keep it under wraps until finally they're like, look, we really do need to do something. We need to keep people off the streets basically at night when the ants come out. Because as everyone knows, ants only come out at night. Ants come
marching 2 by 2. Hurrah. Hurrah. The ants come marching 2 by 2. Hurrah.
We'll stop that now.
Okay.
But they're reading this like, ladies and gentlemen, we have an emergency. This is very serious. We need you to pay attention. We don't want to make this announcement, but we have to tell you, giant ants. And as soon as he said that, I started laughing.
And how is it that people are listening? You're right. They're so like, oh, this is important. Giant ants, you say?
I'm interrupting my delicious salad to listen to giant ants. Really? It was just there's that little speed bump in these these movies where somebody at some point has to say what this is about, and they have to say it in a way that doesn't get the audience to crack up. This film does not pass that test.
Speaking of giant rabbits, as we did earlier in Night of the Lepus, there is a line that is almost impossible. I'm amazed the actor got through it. There's a herd of killer rabbits headed this way.
I didn't know rabbits came in herds.
Credit to the guy who could say that. I want to know how many takes that took, but wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got to say, these films, thankfully, are usually not very long. This one is prime. It's an hour and a half, about an hour and a half. I think the pacing is actually pretty good in this film.
I agree. It moves along very nicely.
Well, here's the thing. We're looking at this 70 years later.
Oh, God.
Today's audiences would not be excited by this film. Would you think, I'm taking a wild guess because you weren't there either, but would you think that 50s audiences probably found this exciting? Well, I mean, we know that.
I think so. I mean, this was an early example of monster movies. Before this, they had mostly stop action stuff.
Stop motion.
Whatever. And I'm going to keep saying it because it makes the little vein on Mike's forehead stand out.
I can't tell you how many episodes he actually said Facebook in, because he has.
Yeah, I think they would have, because as you say, the pacing is decent, the acting is decent, there are faces they might have recognized.
Sure.
And they didn't have CG, they didn't know really how bad the effects were, and it was a good attempt. And you can tell they probably would have done a better job with more money. My big thing is when they break into the final, hatching chamber.
Yeah.
They wanted to have a whole swarm of ants everywhere.
Right.
And they have a swarm of 3, because that's all they had.
And their wings jiggle.
Yep.
And you also know it's the same 3 ants we've seen these ants in other roles. Like that's Bob, that's Fred. Yeah. You can put wings on and say they're girls now, but the wig's not fooling me.
They're okay. They're very confident in their masculinity. They don't mind doing drag.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the 50s audiences would have really gotten into it.
Yeah.
And I think it's as an example of 50s, well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. In fact, we're just about to that point. You want to just round this up and...
Yeah, let's just round this up.
The finish.
So, Max.
What?
Have you ever seen this? Have you actually ever sat down and watched this film all the way through before?
Yes, I saw it on TV on one of those Channel 56 or some such
Yeah.
monster movies a long time ago when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, okay, the ants look dumb, but this isn't bad. This actually moves along. And I do remember being a little freaked out by the little girl screaming.
Yeah.
Because that is a really visceral, primal thing when you hear a child scream, and she does it really well.
She does really do it well.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't seen it in a long, long time.
Not in a long, long time.
But you knew of it. There's not much to remember.
Yeah.
It's giant ants.
Nope. Yep.
Yeah, they came from outer space. Yeah.
And as an example of 50s science fiction monster movies, I think this is a pretty good one. Like I say, the performances are decent, the pacing is good, the cinematography, the music, you can really see where the money isn't, but I think it's a good example. And you can see why it was such a template for so many other 50s science fiction.
Yeah.
What about you? You said you'd never actually sat all the way through it.
To be fair, I think like you, I probably saw it on the Creature Double feature. I distinctly remember the Make Me a Sergeant in Charge of the Booze, and I distinctly remember the sound, and I distinctly remember the Jeeps driving into the LA River. Like, those are very iconic movie visuals to me. So I probably watched it and enjoyed it in the way that I enjoyed any science fiction anything, although the emphasis here is heavily on fiction, when I was a kid. But I've never sat down and just watched them before. This is a first. And I don't think it holds up for today's audiences at all. That being said, with CG and no Tom Cruise, I bet you could actually make a pretty scary, pretty cool movie out of this. Like actual, fully realized and articulated animated ants, like dragging people and screaming and stuff.
They wouldn't even have to be that huge. They wouldn't have to be like 10 feet long. You could have them be like human sized.
Well, the point of
given
ants
the numbers of them, that'd be scary.
The point of it is that ants work together. And as they point out, I don't know if this is actually true, ants are the only creature on Earth besides men that actually go to war. So that
is true, actually. They're the only ones, and they do all the things that the professor said. They take prisoners, they take slaves, they even torture.
Well, so I think that the premise was actually pretty good, giant ants notwithstanding. And obviously they couldn't afford to hire proper giant ants. That I think.
Well, they have a hell of a union.
Sure. So for a 50 science fiction giant monster movie, I honestly think it was pretty well made, like you. Yeah. I do think the cinematography is good. I think that there's a lot of money on the screen, especially when you're not seeing stock footage, but you are seeing different aircraft and all these different extras and all this stuff, shooting in LA, shooting in the desert, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I don't find this ants scary at all. I find the ability of the actors to not laugh in the face of the ants really commendable. Even the two kids at the end, Mike and Jerry, do their best to look scared, and that's fine. But if you don't enjoy old science fiction monster movies, if you find them a little slow or boring, this is another one of them.
Yeah, it's not for you.
But of the giant mess of these, I think it's actually kind of a standout. And I guess that the take kind of goes along with that. I'm surprised. I actually expected it to just be another piece of junk. And, this director, this Gordon Douglas, obviously, he just, at least one or two films a year up from before this, up through 1977. So good for him. Even though I'm not that familiar with his work, I think he did a very credible job. So, yeah. But you know who else does a credible job? You do when you give us our poll question.
Yes, thank you. Line? What kind? Damn it! Now I'm having performance anxiety.
We're filming.
We're filming. Yes, we do want to know, what kind of movie monster can you just not take seriously, no matter how well it's done or how good the movie? Is there a type? Was there one in particular? Let us know. And you can let us know at many ways. Our website, maxmikemovies.com, has a nifty comment section. You can leave a comment there. You can also email us directly at us@maxmikemovies.com. You can find us on various forms of socialist media, such as backfarts and...
Facebook. I'm going to edit out what Max said and just add this word. Facebook.
No!
Yes, I am.
Backfarts. Edit. We're also on Blue Skies.
Mr.
Actually, I don't
Bluesky.
remember enough of that song. Yeah, Mr. Bluesky. And Mastodon, or Mastodon, if you're from the South. And you can, of course, don't pay too much attention, you can, of course, call our epic, super amazing hotline at 617-398-7266. That number again, 617-398-7266. Operators are nowhere near it.
Yeah, it even went down this week, too. Oops.
Yeah, I know. I don't know exactly what happened, but I made it come back, and I gave it a spanking, and it said it was really sorry, Daddy. Anyway.
Your relationship with inanimate objects is really strange.
Don't you judge me. We're in love.
With Google Voice.
But, yep. No, with the server hosting Google Voice.
It's rectangular and it just hits me right there.
The little blinky light, so sexy. It looks so sexy in a red dress.
It's a server.
Yeah.
Tip your server.
Well, this is starting to go in a really weird direction. So
you took it there. Don't look at me.
We are just starting our Giant Monsters series. So, but what is our next giant monster to thrill, chill, and spine tingle us, Mike?
Well, I decided to pick a giant monster movie that not only had I not seen, I don't think you've seen it, I don't know. It's also going to go a little further afield, where giant monsters are not just an American thing. We have giant monsters all over the world. Well, to be fair, the first giant monster might be Godzilla, because I think it's 1950. Don't know for sure.
Does that predate... Wait, that doesn't predate King Kong?
Oh, no, of course not. That's right. King Kong is first.
I think he was the first.
Yeah, but there's a big dearth of them after that from like 1933. There's Mighty Joe Young, which is King Kong. But there's other countries, that's still an American giant monster movie. And other countries have made giant monster films. Probably the most famous giant monster comes from Japan. That would be Godzilla. But we're not going there. We're going somewhere else that you would have not thought had giant monster problems, but apparently they do. Apparently, one of the most dangerous places to go for giant monsters, well, not for them, but for us, because there's giant monsters, is Norway. This is a film called Troll.
Oh, thank God.
Thankfully. Oh, what did you think it was?
I was afraid it was going to be Reptilicus.
No, that's Danish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love Danish.
Troll is, I think, from 2022. It's a fairly recent film. And I watched the preview, and it seems like it is a giant monster movie, which...
Okay.
A, present day, cool, let's see what they're doing with it now. B, Norwegian. The only Norwegian films I've ever seen are... have I seen any Norwegian films? Maybe not, but we'll see. Because next week, we're going to watch Troll.
Yeah, those are really scary with those big tufts of brightly colored hair and the weird little round belly with the gem in it.
Thankfully, none of that. None of that.
What?
No, you'll see, because you will be here with us next week to watch Troll.
This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.